It's the middle of June. It's heavy recruiting season, so it is the perfect time for Florida State fans to be absolutely melting down over a high school kid's decision. I brought Richie on to talk about this a little bit. Should FSU fans be worried about Charles Lester? Right now, Charles Lester III, longtime Florida State lean, and somebody who many have projected to the Seminoles, is out in Boulder for an official visit with the Colorado Buffaloes. Obviously, their head coach, Coach Prime, is somebody that Florida State fans are familiar with. We're showing some visit pictures here on the screen. Recent in a lot of Seminole fans' minds is and was the flip of Travis Hunter a year and a half ago. And so a lot of folks flipping out right now about Lester. Richie, how concerned are you about Charles Lester being out in Boulder visiting Coach Prime right now?
TJ, if I'm a 5-star recruit and everyone in the world wants me, Ohio State, Georgia, Florida State, Coach Prime, you name it, I'm taking all 5 official visits, and I'm not taking a second thought about it. He's not committed to Florida State, so I'm just not concerned with it, and I hope he has a great time out in Boulder. And what Florida State does on the field this season will play a large role in that, because I think Colorado, I don't know if you've looked at their schedule, TJ. they got a rough road to go. I think Florida State has a chance to really make a statement. I think Charles Lester is really big on Florida State right now, and I don't blame him at all for taking these official visits. And Coach Prime, obviously Travis Hunter, we all remember that how that went down. But at the same time, I think Mike Norvell is locked in on this one as ever, and I still feel good about Florida State's chances. I do not get why any Florida State fan should freak out right now, but that's just me.
Well, because that's what we do at this
Yeah.
in this fan base. Charles Lester, obviously super talented. We'll talk about him from an athletic and a skill set perspective in just a minute. But if you're watching this, you probably have a fair idea of the kind of athlete that we're talking about right now. 5-star quarterback. And I think that, when you listen to his comments and you listen to what he said, he was asked about, taking the visit, what it meant to him, why he was taking it. And he talked about wanting to learn from Coach Prime and wanted to see what he had going on out there. And I think, we'll see what ends up happening, right? We'll see where he ends up signing in December. We've talked about him a ton in our Discord. We've made some projections. We've made some predictions on what will happen with Lester. There's a free link to the Discord down in the description that you guys can check out. But I think it would almost be – okay, maybe I'm going a little extreme here, Richie, but I want you to – on a scale of 1 to 10, how crazy – 10 being the craziest, how crazy is this statement? I think that if Charles Lester, a 5-star defensive back, didn't consider – playing for the greatest defensive back of all time, who is from his hometown. Like, he is literally going to be playing high school football less than an hour away from where Deion Sanders played high school football. I think that if he didn't at least consider, at least have Colorado in his mind when he was making his decision, that he would almost be doing himself a disservice. Right? Like, is that a crazy thought to have, that like a kid that is one of the best corners in the country might want to learn from the best cornerback of all time? Like, you could say whatever you want about Deion as a coach, as a program manager, antics, this, that, and the other. But to me, like, it makes so much sense for him to think about Colorado. He's not committed. He's not flipping to Colorado. Nothing. I just think is that a crazy statement that he should be thinking about Colorado right now?
Not at all. Like, we know he loves Florida State, and the greatest player, if you're talking about just I know you're a big Jameis guy, TJ, but Deion is Florida State football, right? He is the greatest cornerback of all time. And if you're a defensive back, especially a corner like Charles Lester, you absolutely have to consider, maybe not consider, but at least let Deion give his pitch to you, man. He is the best that's ever done it. Why would you not want to go and learn from him? And, if he does end up at Colorado, I don't think he does, but say he does, I don't blame him at all, because that is a business decision at that point. Because listen, we love NIL, right? Battle's End. I'm wearing the quarter zip right now, right? It's a big deal, but the real money comes in the NFL. And if you think Deion Sanders, who played your position, better than anybody ever has, is the best person to get you ready for the league, you got to at least listen. So I have no problems with Charles Lester going there at all. And he better listen because, like you said, he'd be doing himself a disservice if he did not.
Kids get 5 visits. Actually, past July 1st, I believe kids can take as many visits as they want. Now, schools still have limits, so I don't think you're going to see that many kids taking like 17 official visits or anything, right? Like, I think there are still going to be limits because a school is going to have to, can only use so many visits. Yeah, I don't have a huge problem with it. I think that, Lester, again, is a super, super talented kid. We'll talk about that in just a second. But, you can think whatever you want about Coach Prime or Deontay, program builder, head coach, whatever. It doesn't matter. Obviously, he does a really, really good job of relating to, having an impact on, and getting highly rated defensive backs to come. Obviously, Travis Hunter is not the only one. Bringing in Cormani McClain and other highly rated defensive backs is something that is, I think, going to continue. I think that Coach Prime recruiting defensive backs at a really, really high level is something that you're going to see happen over and over and over again. If Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or whoever, right, like throw out some quarterbacks, was a college coach, do you not think that every highly rated quarterback, let's say Peyton Manning was coaching at Tennessee, don't you think every highly rated quarterback would have Tennessee on their short list of places to possibly officially visit? Like, Tennessee would have a better quarterback visitor list than everyone ever. No matter how good Peyton ends up being as a coach, none of that stuff. People would absolutely flock to that. And it's no different here. So, all right, let me give some love to our friends over at Garnet and Gold. We'll talk about Lester a little bit. We'll make some predictions of where we think he ends up, and then we'll get out of here. So, garnetandgold.com. Make sure that you are supporting there. You can use code NOSLAW, that's NOSLAW, to get 15% off of the best officially licensed FSU merchandise. You want to give back to our players through NIL. You want to support our boosters. Well, Garnet and Gold does all of that. If you're local to Tallahassee, you can visit both locations. But if you order online, if you go to garnetandgold.com and use code NOSLAW, you will get 15% off of your order. You can pick up in-store to save on that shipping if you're local. If you're not local, they have incredibly quick shipping and delivery, great customer service. Go to garnetandgold.com. Use code NOSLAW for 15% off. Okay, Richie, no real issues with him visiting Colorado. Let's talk about him as a prospect just a little bit. I think we have his height, measurement, his weight, and everything that we can throw up. He is a 6'2", 171-pound cornerback out of Sarasota, Florida. He is incredibly athletic. I don't think that shocks anybody. I don't think that surprises anyone. But just a phenomenal athlete. Plays both ways in high school. And he's just got everything you want as a cornerback. He's super long, very, very athletic, as we mentioned. He moves super well for his size, 6'2", 170 pounds. Great ball skills. Obviously, talk about him moving very, very well by playing both sides of the ball. You like your cornerbacks who have an understanding of the wide receiver position, which he certainly does because he plays that on the offensive side of the ball in high school as well. He's got that tenacity that you want in a corner. Certainly a kid that doesn't like to lose games, but doesn't even like to lose reps. Very physical, a true shutdown corner. I think a guy that would come in and make an impact. I don't know about day one at Florida State or UGA, but probably a day one guy at Colorado, and a guy that would make a pretty quick impact at Florida State too. I think in 2024, you're obviously going to have to replace Fentrell Cypress. I think you've got a pretty good core there at cornerback. I think he'd be in and playing pretty quickly with his talent level. Somebody that Florida State absolutely wants. And really just if you could build a corner, if you could build kind of your dream makeup of a cornerback, he is that guy. Florida State needs to recruit really, really well on the defensive side of the ball, and I think this is a very important recruitment for them. They've done a great job on offense. Obviously, having Croman-Hoke at quarterback, Davis at running back, you've got 4 wide receivers that you're very, very confident in right now. You're going to probably add to that room a 5-star tight end committed. You've got some offensive linemen you really are trending positively for. But the defensive side of the ball is where things need to pick up. Lester's commitment would mean an absolute ton to the Noles. Richie, any thoughts on just how important this recruitment is and what you think ends up happening here?
Yeah, you mentioned Ken Davis. Can we get his mom on the phone with Charles Lester because she is probably our top recruiter right now. But yeah, it's a big deal, right? Like you said, offensively, I don't think we're going to have any trouble recruiting at all, whether it's in the trenches, out wide, quarterback, it doesn't matter. But defensively, that's where, when you're projecting the state of the program, right? This year, we feel Florida State is a true playoff contender, but you want to be that every single year. And I think the defensive recruiting is the one thing that's holding you back a little bit. And getting a guy like Charles Lester would be a huge sign to the rest of the college football world that, listen, yeah, we're here for the long haul. As long as Mike Norvell is here and as long as he keeps producing like he did last year and showing that improvement, man, it's a big deal. And I think Charles Lester getting a 5-star defensive back, it'd be like when remember when Jimbo stole Greg Reed from Georgia and Florida? And, that was a huge deal. And Greg Reed didn't win a national title here, but that was a huge recruiting win that kind of set the tone moving forward. And I think that's what a guy like Charles Lester can do, much like LaMarcus Joyner, who, a lot of people thought was going to Ohio State. He said, nah, let me stay home. Let me go to Florida State. And he set the tone and did win a national title for Florida State.
Yeah, I think it's a massive recruitment for some of the reasons we mentioned. You have to get to where you're recruiting the state of Florida as well as the Noles have in the past, and I think they are doing a better job right now. High school recruiting has certainly trended up, and so I'm not one of these guys that's like, sky is falling. My level of concern over this, I don't know if, again, from a 1 to 10, is maybe like a 1 or a 2. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, just kind of, I still think Florida State's in a very, very good position. He's visiting Florida State this weekend. Now, I will say, something crazy was to happen. He was to cancel that visit and not reschedule another one or something like that. Then, yeah, my concern level, we'll probably do another video, right? Like, my concern level goes through the roof. But he's going to be in Tallahassee this weekend. A lot of people flipped out because he tweeted the word, "I'm coming." That's literally their hashtag right now is "we come." It'd be the same as tweeting "I'm climbing," in Tallahassee, or "Go Dogs" in UGA and in Athens. So I don't really worry about that. That's, people are saying, "Oh, is that a commitment?" No, it's not a commitment. Get the heck out of here. So as long as he's in Tallahassee this weekend and shows up, he's going to go to UGA the very next weekend. And then I think, it's what happens during the season, right? Can we get him on campus? Can we get him to, it would not be an official visit or anything. It actually wouldn't be any kind of visit at all. But can we get him to Orlando for the LSU game, right? Can that be an experience that he can partake and he can see? Can we get him back on campus for maybe the Miami game, right? Can we get him on campus in between that last game against the Gators and then signing day when it happens? So I think those would be things to watch out for, right? Like how active is he? He's visited Florida State more than he's visited everyone else. I think it's almost by double listed on 3 visits. And so does that continue to trend our way? Does he continue to take visits to us? Does he cool, right? Like, does he not show up for any games? Do weird things happen? This is Colorado's one chance to make an impression, and Florida State's going to continue to have chances to make impressions through this year because of proximity. Obviously, this was their one official visit that they can take care of. I don't know if any kids pay for visits on their own dime anymore, even when they are an official in this world that we're living in now, but obviously they're supposed to. So we'll see how often he's in Tallahassee, how often he's in Boulder from here going forward. I think that the Jackson State situation was extremely unique, and I think proximity did play an impact there. Charles Lester's not going to be taking any secret visits to Boulder, just based on how proximity works. I think Travis Hunter being injured his senior season was also kind of a big impact there that may have worked negatively against the Noles. So my worry level is not very high here. I do think he ends up signing with Florida State after committing to Florida State. Maybe he announces that before signing day. Maybe he doesn't, but I still feel like the Noles end up winning this one here. We will continue to monitor this situation. We will continue to monitor the huge recruiting weekend that Florida State has underway and going on today and this weekend. Make sure that you are subscribed and locked in with the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the comments. Let us know your thoughts on Charles Lester. If you've missed our video that we put out last week on a big loophole that Florida State may have to get to the Big Ten, you can click the video on the screen right now to watch it. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. Talk to you soon. Go Noles.